Alright, welcome to another round of GameMaker tutorial. This one is going to be adventures in Hyrule. And topics that you're going to encounter in this tutorial, we're going to be, in the first part, talking about sprite animations, sprite sheets, sprite changing. Other things we will explore in GameMaker, directional shooting, what are views, how to interact with depth. We're going to continue to review local global variables, randomization, and alarms and timing. So what I want you to do is open up GameMaker and open up a new project in GameMaker. Make sure you're saving this, of course, always to your H drive. Never save it locally. We don't want to lose that information. Also, if you look at Canvas, there should be a resources folder there to at least start with. And there should be a bunch of just pictures and as well as sprite sheets that we're going to build off of. All right, so as we go through this, feel free to alter anything. You don't have to do everything verbatim as I do it. You can kind of change things as you go, but the majority of it should be followed. I'm gonna go ahead and download the first thing. Grass. We're going to download the grass, just a background so that we can use. And then also we're going to download the horse.png and get that into our game and go back to GameMaker. So this is going to be all kind of from scratch. So first thing I want you to do is load a background. So we're going to create background and we're going to load one and go to finding those things that you just downloaded. So I'm gonna just load up some grass here, and there is a grass background. So I'm just gonna name this, and then let's go ahead and make a room to start. So create room, and we're gonna select the background, and we're gonna go ahead and use the grass background. And keep it really simple for now. We're gonna change this, and we're also gonna talk about views and whatnot as we continue this tutorial. But for now, let's just create a really simple room, and we can name this. Why don't we name this? This is Hyrule main. We'll just say okay. Again, the names aren't really super important here. I'm just kind of making these up. But we have a room now with a background. The next thing we want to do is we're going to talk about sprite animations. So, in Scratch we did a little bit of animation, not too much, but we talked about costumes. So in Scratch, you'd have to add a bunch of costumes, and then you'd have to cycle through that. Same thing kind of happens in GameMaker. There is an efficient way to load up sprites, and that is through a sprite sheet. Now, again, we're assuming that you are not creating these sprite sheets, but there are tools in here that you can, in GameMaker, make this a little easier for yourself. So what I want you to do is you're going to go ahead and download the, make sure you have horse.png. If you look at horse.png, it's just, I think of this character as Link, in the Legends of Zelda. But there's just several, images of this, Link on a horse, and we're going to use this to go ahead and create some animation. So make sure you have that. Go back to your GameMaker. Go ahead and click on sprites, and we're going to create a new sprite. So create sprite, and we're going to call this one SPR. Link is the main character here, and we're going to actually keep this as right, like him facing right here. So you name it. We're going to go to edit sprite, and of course there's no costumes in here. But we're going to load this. We're going to try to import these from a sprite sheet. So let's go to, we're going to go to File, and we're going to say Create from Strip. So we're going to create from strip, and we're going to select that horse.png file. And that's going to bring up this little window that says loading a strip image. So when you see this, there's a lot of different things you can type in. You can select how many images you're going to want to load. There's basically this little box here that you can, if you want to drag around, you can notice that the horizontal and vertical pixel offset is being changed here. But this is basically where we're going to start to cut out different sprites. So the more consistent your sprite sheet is, the easier this method can be. Sometimes it's really easy to just, if you have all the measurements correctly, you can just load up, 20 different sprites if they're all kind of consistently laid out really easily. So we're going to do this one facing to the right, and we're going to start it kind of around, try to put it on the top left. We're going to try to get this image right here. Now what you can do is change the width and height. So you want to kind of go around this first image, and so let's just kind of experiment with that. 55, you want to get it so it's really close to that. Let's maybe try this as 60 for now. The height has to be larger, and so 40 is not enough. Maybe 45 would be good. Okay. And then there's other things you can change in here if you get really into it. Oop, don't want to do that. That will offset your item in the list. I'm going to keep that at 0. If I say I want, let's say, 3 images, and I'm going to say images per row, I'm going to say 3, right? You can see that it's going to try to just extract those images out. And so it looks like it probably would cut those out. Now I can see that it's going to miss this third image. I didn't make it quite tall enough, so I can drag this however I want to drag it. Or I could simply make the height just a little bit more, like 64 or something like that. Oop, that was the wrong one. That was the width. So make this maybe like 48. And I'm going to try to cut out these 3 images right here. And I'm not even going to deal with these images on the right. So you can imagine a sprite sheet if you have access to a sprite sheet, and you could have 10, 20 images that are really part of an animation. And if it is consistent, then this little loading template can be really, really powerful. If it's not too many, then it's not that much of a pain just to continue to extract the images one by one or kind of in groups. So here we have 3, and I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and cut these into 3 different costumes. See if I can get that going. And I probably don't have these perfect, but I'm going to go ahead with that. Now you can see that if I tried to do like 6 images and I went like that, it's not going to get these other ones because they're not consistent with the width of the first 3. So I'm going to keep this at 3. And I'm going to say, okay. You can see what happens here is that it loads those 3 into 3 different images. So we have 1 sprite, but we have 3 different costumes here. If you click on Show Preview, you can see that it tries to go ahead and animate this, and it looks kind of fast. So we're going to fix that as well. So the next thing we want to do is, you can see that this background is not transparent. Now last time we went into Photoshop and we went through this process of magnetic lasso and doing that. However, there are some built-in GameMaker features that make this easy, especially if the background is easy like this. In this case, we can do it. If you go to transform, images, and we go to erase a color. This is really easy now because you can basically select the color that you want to erase. And since the background here is just against this right here, makes it really easy to erase this image. In fact, I don't even have to adjust this tolerance that I can change. You can see the output here is just going to erase this background right here. And what you can do here is say apply to all images in the sprite. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to say OK. So now everything's transparent, right? We still have this little preview here. The other thing that I want to do is make sure that I do want to make sure that my images are the same size. There's a little bit of an art here, making sure that all your sprites are consistent, right? If you have a lot of space around your sprites, let's try this. I would recommend cropping these if you have a lot of canvas around here. It depends on how well you cut it, but if you hit Control Alt and P, it will bring up something called cropping the images in, or it might say trim the image, and you can say what do you want the border size to be, and you can keep it at 0. And what it'll try to do is cut around any unused background. It will get rid of that. Sometimes this is an easy first step in making your sprite look better. So I did it, and it kind of did that. And if you do it in this screen, it will look at all of your costumes and try to adjust accordingly. So if we show preview, you can see that it is, it looks okay. There's only 3 images there, so it's not any sort of crazy good, animation, but it's not bad. You can see that it's going really fast, and there are a couple different ways that you can change this up. One method of doing this is simply to add more frames in here. So for example, if I just took this image 0 and I copied it, so if I did, I just did a copy right there, Control C and Control V, or let's see where it is here, copy and paste, Control C, Control V. I just did it, and you can see that image 0 and image 1 are actually the same frame. I just duplicated it. And I could do the same thing for these other 3, these other 2 unique frames. So I could just go here, Control C, Control V, and it just added a duplicate right here. So image 2 and 3 are the same. I could do the same thing to image 4, Control C, Control V. And this is obviously one way to slow down the animation, is that really what's happening now is this sprite is automatically cycling through these 5 costumes infinitely. So it's just going to keep going through, and therefore you have this animation. The speed, you'll notice I can just kind of change this up. Can I just make this 15, and it will on the preview automatically go slower. That's just that will not affect the game, so I would suggest maybe just leaving it at 30 and adjusting the pictures. There is a way that when you change the sprite images, you can change the speed of it. I just think that making more costumes is kind of an easy way to just bring it down. Okay, so that is it for link to the right. So I'm going to say okay, and I would suggest, now we didn't talk about this before, but you can select the center of your sprite, which is when you in the game, when you switch like X and Y and all that kind of stuff, or you spawn something or relative to this object, you can select where you want it to, think this object or this sprite, where its center is. The center is kind of like 0, 0. And so if I click on center, it'll put this little crosshairs right in the middle of this thing, which is usually a decent place to put it, right? So I usually click on center when you're doing this. You can see that there's 6 sub images, and if you edit it, you go back to your other screen. So click OK on this. So now we have link to the right. Let's go, and once we have some of these in here, we can easily make other directions. So we're going to go ahead and duplicate this right here. If you right click this sprite, you're going to click on duplicate, and we're going to make this called left. So SPR, sprite, and we're going to say link left. And really, we want it to be the same group of images. We just want it reflected horizontally. So we have the same images. We're going to click on Edit Sprite, and we're going to go to Transform, and we're going to go to Mirror Flip. And you can see we're just going to take this and we're going to mirror horizontally. So we're going to select that, make sure that this applies to all images in the sprite, and click OK. Easy as that, right? So we can click OK on that, and now we have left. So we got right, we got left. We also want to do the up and down movements. Okay, once you get good at this, it's easier to load up these things. And again, because we have the sprite sheet, it makes it a lot easier. So let's create a new sprite, and we're going to go SPR link. Let's go with up. And we're going to edit sprite. And remember, we're going to create from strip. And we're going to go back and select the horse sprite sheet that we had. And now we're going up. So we're going to try to extract some of these pictures. And you can see here, this can be a little bit, you know, everything doesn't look perfectly consistent with this. The only difficulty we might have is that as the sprite sheet is, his sword kind of goes to the left as he's riding. So like the width of this first one is a little bit big because his sword is fanning out to the left, and then in the other ones it's not, or it's a progression. So I'm gonna try your best, and let's say, you know, let's try to get as many of these as we can. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's try to get the 7 images. So I'm going to say 7 images, 7 per row. And, you know, clearly we, you know, are not there yet. We need to change this up. So the image width, let's make this bigger. Let's try 52. And you know, the width here might be a little difficult. That's okay. Let's see what the height needs to be. The height needs to be, let's try 50. Let's go 55. And that's okay. Let's see if we can make this a little bit better. No, that won't do it. We want to start at the right spot. Okay, see if we can get all the images in there. You know, this will do it. That one's kind of getting cut off at the end here. So again, this sprite sheet is not like really super consistent. So you can actually extract one image at a time if you want, right? You don't have to do them all, or you can get a few of them and then add more images on there as needed. Or you could just decide, you know what, I'm just going to use 3 images here. I'm not going to use all of these different frames. I'll just use a couple, and it'll get the animation that I want. So let's make this a little bit less. 54. Still, that kind of cuts this one off right here. So you do your best, but it's kind of cutting things off because these are not the same. So I think what I'm going to do here is let's just grab, so I'll show you how to do it in pieces. Let's grab number of images to just 2. And let's just try to get these 2 right here. And so let's make the image width, you know, more like 60. Let's just get these 2 and see if we can get that cooking. And then maybe we can add these other ones which look a little bit more consistent after. So we'll do that. Let's say okay. You can see this is kind of bouncing around, right? I only have 2 things in there, so it looks like it's freaking out. You can use this speed right here just to kind of see, just to slow it down and see like, this is, it looks like we need more frames there to make this look kind of good, right? It doesn't look great. But remember, we want to, as always, we want to trim these things. So when I add this, two things you can do is we can erase the color, which if you hit, not stretch, images and erase the color, which is Control-Shift-E, and we can do that. And then we can crop these. So we can hit Control-Alt-P and say OK on that. And you can see, maybe it looks a little better. Still doesn't look that great. If I put it at normal speed, obviously, it looks like it's spazzing out. Okay. By all means, when you go through this first take at it, you're not going to be an expert in animation, right? This is going to take a little bit of practice and skill. Development to make your animations look better than what you're starting with. Okay, so I added we added 2 of these sprites, but now let's say I want to go file and then not create from strip, let's just say add from strip. I want to add more costumes, so just say add and then grab the horse again. And then now let's see if we can add these guys over here. And let's see if I can add a bunch more. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see if I can grab these 5. And $46 is decent. Let's make the height 50. Make it 51. Let's make that 53. And I'm kind of getting all of these now. So this one looks a little bit better in that I can kind of grab all of these. Doesn't look too bad. So I got that, and I'm going to import it. And now it says inserting images. The size of the images is not equal to the current image. What should happen? Keep original size, use new size, use maximal size. So this is going to be a little bit of trial and error as you do this, because this does make a difference in your sprites, because if they're not lined up on the frame, then it will be moving in kind of a weird, crazy way. So I'm going to say use maximal size, and I'm going to place at the place in the center, place at the top left. Let's just try that. Okay, so now of course we have more images, and we have to do the same thing here. We need to go ahead and erase the colors, right? So let's erase the color of all these guys and say OK on this. That didn't work. Try that again. Let's try this one more time. There we go. And you can see this isn't really looking super great. If I go back to a faster speed, 15, it kind of looks like he's riding a horse, right? And you might say, you might like that. You might think it's good, right? If I go to 30, it looks maybe a little fast, in which case we can duplicate a few more things. I kind of want to see if I took out these first 2 images, right? If I took out these first 2 images, if I deleted them, what would this look like? Because the other ones are more consistent. And so it's a little bit of trial and error. Now, if I want to put those back, I can hit Control-Z and undo. So I just put those images back. And this is going to be something that I'm not going to go through every little detail on. You're going to have to kind of play with this, and don't expect everything to be perfect, because I can't cover every little nuance here. There's a lot of built-in GameMaker things that you can try, especially in the images. If you go to animation, you can try that. You can look at the transform. You can look at shifting this thing, like shifting it within the canvas. That might help you in certain ways. And then also my speed is typically 30, this looks kind of fast, right? So I might do the whole thing here where I put some more images in between here, copy and paste some of these guys in here, so it kind of has the effect of slowing down. So I'm actually going to do that right now. Duplicate some of these guys so that so this one, this one, this one, and you can decide here that you and so let's just say it does not look perfect. Okay, we can also try trim. So if we hit Control Alt P or crop, we can say okay on that. That might help things out. For now, I'm going to say this is okay. I'm not happy with it, but we're going to start somewhere, right? So I'm going to say okay on that one. So that is link up, and I'm going to say okay. And remember, make sure you click the center to be more of the center of this, so it goes there. All right, so let's go ahead and try link down. I want you to try link down yourself to the best of your ability. Go ahead and do it. You can create a sprite. Let's call it SPR and then link down. And then we're going to edit the sprite. You're going to create from a strip. You're going to add the horse, and this, I want you to try it. Okay? Probably won't be the exact same thing that I do here, but I want you to try it right now. So I want you to pause the video, and I'm going to go ahead and do this as well. Pause the video right now and just see if you can import this where Link is writing down or kind of facing at you. Okay, so ready, set, go. All right, so hopefully you guys got something. This is what I came up with. I had to do it. I imported 2 times. Also keep in mind when you do this, you can, if you want to, just import 1 costume at a time. You just hit File, Add from Strip, select 1 costume, and then do the next one. You don't have to bulk import these. Sometimes you can kind of note if it's going to work or not. And so, again, trial and error. You live and learn as you try these things out. So I'm going to say OK on that and say, oh, make sure the center isn't right in the middle there. So now we should have right, left, up, down. Okay. So to finish off this like part 1, let's go ahead and create an object for Link because we don't have an object for him yet. So we're going to hit Create Object, and let's go ahead and call this object. This is the main character, OBJ Link. And we want to be able to switch the sprite. So this is going to be a little bit of, we're going to have to figure out a few things here. But for the sprite, for right now, if you click on this, you can click on one of these, right? You can just say sprite link right. Okay. We're going to have to switch some of these things, but that's okay. And then let's try a little bit of, left. We're going to use the arrows, left, right, up, down, or you can do WASD if you want. I'm going to hit event or add event, and we're going to do a key press. So we're going to do key press for left, and we're going to add an event for key press right, and also for down and up. So up and down. So what we're gonna do here, let's just make it simple for now. So when they click on left, we're going to start moving in the left direction, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say speed of 8 just as a starting point. And what we want to do here is we kind of want to switch costumes. All right, we actually want to switch the sprites. Okay, we have 4 different sprites which have multiple costumes, and so we're basically just we're going to tell this object Link to switch costumes. So we're going to go to change sprite. If you go to main 1, see where it says sprite here. there's one called change sprite, and we're going to go ahead and say change sprite, and we're going to change this into link left, right? And you can also, I think, change this speed from within here. Right now it says 1, and I think that is indicating like 100% speed. So you may be able to change this to like 0.8 or 0.1 or 0, a speed of 0, right? And then, you know, it wouldn't really do anything. Also, the sub image, you can say which sub image you want to start on. I believe that's for. So we're just going to say OK here. And we're going to do the same thing. Let's go to up. So up, we're going to do similar things. We're going to move up at a speed of 8. And we're also going to switch the sprite to link up. And I'm just going to say OK. And then to the right would be moving. I'm going to go back to move to the right, speed 8. And change the sprite again to link right, and then the down will move down at a speed of 8, changing the sprite to link down. And then we're going to have to add in that no key, right? So when there's not a key being pressed, right? So we're going to say keyboard and no key, right? Then we're going to start moving in no direction. We're going to go back to this move and make sure it's not moving with the speed of 0. We're going to say OK on that. And what we want to do is kind of pause the animation here when we're stopped. And there may or may not be a good way to do that. For now, we're not even going to touch anything with that. We're just going to kind of leave it. So leave it like that. We're going to say OK, just to see what we have. And we really need to test this program out to some degree just to see what we're working with here. So go to our room, and we're going to add link to our room. So we're going to add link in there. Remember, if you look at this, our room size is 640 by 480. It's really small right now. I'm going to leave it like that, but we will change this later. Let's go ahead and run this thing and see what happens. So you can see right now that we have Link here, and he's already, it looks like he's moving, right? Because he's already in the right sprite. And if I go to the right, he goes right, left, he goes left, up, down. And so it does have at least the animation effects that we were trying to get. We were trying to get something to work. Not perfect. If you want to make little alterations here, change the speeds on that, go ahead and feel free to do so. But at least we have something, right? We have something that is working. So we have sprite animation. We talked about sprite sheets. And that's going to be it for part 1. We'll see you in part 2.